In today's video, we're answering questions presented to us on social media, looking at a potential snow event this weekend, and more importantly, discussing the snow coming our way for the Thursday morning commute. All that and more coming your way right now. Hey y'all, John with New York Metro Weather here with your daily weather update and an update on our upcoming sequence of storm systems. The main one that we're going to focus on first is going to be system impact in the area from tonight, Wednesday night, into Thursday morning. And you see it right here on the latest model guidance. Frontal boundary approaching the area later tonight. Initially, as you can tell by the temperatures outside, it's quite warm out there. Temperatures in the 40s. Feeling like the 50s in some spots, which is the warmest day we've had in quite some time. So the ground's warmed up a little bit and the temperatures are warm. So precipitation likely going to start as rain in the majority of the area. But look what happens later tonight into Thursday morning. You can see model guidance pushing this high pressure down from the west. And precipitation eventually is going to change over to snow in the entire forecast area. The difference between this and a lot of the events where the front just slides on by, there's a lot of moisture streaming in behind the front. So what happens when you get a situation like this is the precipitation changes over to snow, and then there's enough moisture for it to continue. And so the possibility exists for a couple inches of snow on Thursday morning. Let's zoom in and look at the simulated radar from the HRRR model. And you can see that rain begins tonight, likely overnight while we're asleep. But by the early morning hours, that precipitation has changed over to snow. The cold air is sinking down, and so the atmosphere is now producing snowflakes that are reaching the ground instead of melting into raindrops. This is valid at 7 o'clock a.m. on Thursday morning, and you can really see the bands of snow now throughout a large part of eastern PA, New Jersey, the New York City metro. By 10 o'clock a.m. though, that snow is shifting away from the area, so by late morning and early afternoon, this thing is out of here. It's just a couple hours of snow that is likely to be timed right with the morning commute. Zooming in on the New York City metro, here's a simulated radar. So here we go overnight tonight. This is valid at about 2 in the morning. So we have showers, nothing too crazy going on. But the higher elevations first, northwest New Jersey, southeast New York, and eastern Pennsylvania, are going to see that change over to snow occurring. And then by the time we get to daybreak, it's changed over to all snow across the entire forecast area. This is valid again at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And you can see this is light to occasionally moderate snow in a large majority of the region. That'll eventually slide out of the area. And again, here we are at 10 a.m. with that snow sliding off the coast, and really a non-issue by the late morning into early afternoon. But again, this is timed with that morning commute, so with the temperature drop and the snow falling, we could be looking at the possibility of some slick conditions during the morning. Snowfall accumulations on the latest model guidance. Generally between 1 and 3 inches in the New York City metro, but it could be even less than that. One of the questions that we got today on Twitter was, the ground's going to be so warm, it's going to be raining, is that going to affect the snow? Is it going to be a wet snow that's going to melt when it hits the ground? The answer is yes. At least initially, a lot of that snow is going to melt on contact. But with the dropping temperatures and the snow falling consistently, we do expect it to stick eventually. So generally a very light snowfall, an inch or two is really the best way to communicate it. But some of those higher elevations in the interior could see a little bit more than that, depending on how much snow there is, how much moisture there is behind that frontal boundary. Another question we got on Twitter: what does it look like for the weekend storm? We've been talking about that for quite some time, and so let's get into it. We mentioned that weekend storm system. The front from Thursday morning gets out of the way, and then we have the weekend storm system coming Friday into Saturday, and all comes down to, are these two disturbances going to phase, right? We have this one dropping out from the northern stream in Canada and the second one here over the desert southwest. And for some time, model guidance was suggesting these two disturbances would interact, they'd phase and merge and form a larger storm that would come up the East Coast. But as we've gone through the last couple of days, models have backed away from that idea, and you can see it here. You can see the disturbances now almost in the Mississippi River Valley, while that other disturbance is digging down into the Baja. It's in Mexico. So these two are not close anymore on most model guidance, and the result is that the storm system remains progressive. It slides off the coast and out to sea. Going back to the original graphics we were looking at on the European model, you can see the storm does try to get its act together here late Friday into Saturday, but it just doesn't have enough impetus. There's nothing dragging it up the coast, whereas this phase here in the central U.S. would have really pulled this storm up the coast and allowed it to form into something more substantial. Instead, it just slides out to sea and ends up in the Atlantic, and for our area, it's really not an impact at all. High pressure sticks overhead Friday into Saturday. And by the time the storm system gets anything going, it's way out to sea. European model is in very good agreement on that, and now it's backed away. We mentioned yesterday the use of ensembles, right? So ensembles give us a different look, many different weather models from the European. We tweak each one of them, and we get to look at what is the potential envelope of solutions and possibilities. Yesterday, some of these members were a lot closer to the coast, suggesting there was still a possibility that this would back to the west, and we had to watch for that on Saturday. But now they are all way out to sea. This is hundreds of miles south and east of the New York City metro. High pressure is built in Friday into Saturday, and this storm does not appear to have a fighting chance anymore. This one is likely going way out to sea. So your weekend plans are in good shape as this storm slides off the coast from Friday into Saturday. Arctic air comes in behind it from Saturday into Sunday, so it's going to be quite cold through the weekend and into early next week. And then we'll watch for another possible storm during the early to middle part of next week. We don't want to get into too much detail on it, but it looks like there'll be cold air around, and we have another disturbance forming here in the deep south. So we'll have to watch for more winter storms. Again, this pattern is cold and it's active. So, one of the last questions we got on Twitter was, why does it seem like the pattern is perfect for snow but not really producing snow in the New York City metro? And the answer is because the pattern is not perfect for snow. Even though you have a pattern that might be cold, there might be active, there's lots of active conditions, it doesn't guarantee snow. Even some of the best patterns you could draw up for snow won't produce. And this is a great example of why. And if you look at this pattern synoptically from a weather perspective, late this week with the weekend storm, it's great. I mean, we have a disturbance coming down, we have one ready to phase, we have the cold air locked in, but just because of the way that this evolves, the timing of it all, they just miss. The phase misses, and one disturbance goes into Mexico, the other one comes into the Ohio Valley, and our storm goes kind of painlessly out to sea, as you can see here on most guidance. And that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles with this. The pattern, though, as we move into the later part of this week and then into next week as well, remains very active. It's very cold, it's very active. So the chips are going to fall. We're going to have to watch and see how it all plays out. But the chances for winter weather in New York will remain elevated just because of those two simple things. We have a cold pattern in place, there's plenty of cold air, and it's active. There's disturbances flying all over the place. And so when you play the odds on that, eventually New York City is going to see winter weather. And it could be something small like we're seeing tomorrow morning with this front, or it could be a larger event down the road that we're going to have to watch very carefully for. But that's the forecast for the next couple of days. Again, the main focus is the front on Thursday morning. A couple inches of snow look likely in the New York City metro area. Higher elevations in the interior as well. A little bit of a rough commute on Thursday. The weekend storm now very likely to slide out to sea. And then we'll watch the cold come in behind that, and we'll wait for a potential storm system during the early to middle part of next week as well. We'll be back with another video tomorrow. We will break down the snow in the morning, and we'll talk about the threats that lay beyond that from Saturday and then into next week as well. That's all for tonight, though. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.